And they're off.
Further Faster, the best independently owned outdoor store in the known universe. Whether you're heading out on climbing, paddling, tramping, or running adventures, look no farther than Further Faster for all your gear and expertise needs. Over the winter, head over to 57A Buchan Street, Sydenham, Otutahi, Christchurch, or hit them up at furtherfaster.co.nz.
And it goes something like, further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Oh, further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Dirt Church Radio. Episode 365 of the Dirt Church Radio Trail and Ultramarathon running podcast. Kia ora, I'm Matt Raymond, and I'm running solo this week, with Ali taking some well-deserved time off and Andrew McDowell piecing himself back together after an absolutely epic 7th Northburn 100-mile buckle on the weekend. Amazing work, bro, and indeed, amazing work to everyone who is out there this weekend getting amongst it in the hills. I'm going to leave the Northburn coverage up to Bradley Houghton at trailrunning.nz, the most amazing trail running newsletter, apart from ours. Well, ours is kind of a bit, there's this better if you like the newsier stuff. Mine's more philosophical, but go check it out, trailrunning.co.nz. And we've had a shout out from the legendary Jenny Hurst, who writes, "Hi team, wanted to check in after a big weekend. I know there'll be a lot of Northburn news, and there will be, trailrunning.nz, but a couple things that should get a shout out on the pod this week." She shouts out that her mate Sian Johnson won the 24-hour Sri Chinmoy race this weekend. So good, 165 kilometres. She's a machine, so strong on trails and around the track. I know Sian, she's awesome. Well done. Also, please give the Hanua Hillbilly a mention. Such a special event, great location, great spirit and vibes. This was the 4th running and is always a good chance to remember Steve Neary as the event was established in his memory. And she writes that it was 10 years this November since he died. And my goodness, that seems like a lifetime ago. I ran the marathon for the second time, and it was incredible how many people were doing these trails for the first time, running their longest run ever, whether it was the 23, the 42, or the 60K Ultra. Many good trail chats were had. The Hanua terrain is unforgiving, particularly Puka Puka Track, Mine Road Track, Ernie's, so rough, steep, and challenging. Aid stations and volunteers were brilliant. The same crew came back every year, many of them locals or old mates of Steve's. Many of us camped at the event base, and there was a great party atmosphere into the night. The cut-off for the Ultra was 8 p.m. Well done to Dave and Julianne and the team at Trail Events New Zealand. Can't really recommend it enough. This one is extra special, and I won my age group for the second year in a row. And she puts, I was, of course, the only 60-plus woman in my age group. But it doesn't matter. You've got to show up to compete. So well done, Jenny. Well done. And she says also a special mention, Ryan Hattle, who headed out on Friday night, ran the entire 60-kilometre ultra course, then started the official race with everyone else at 5 a.m. 120-kilometre double hillbilly done, by all accounts, quite a tough mission. And that sounds absolutely brutal. So there we go. Some racing on the weekend. As I said, you want to get all the Northburn news, Bradley's your man. This week, Ali spoke to Paula Griffin. You may recognise Paula from the Women in Trail panel at Tarawera. Paula's had a very successful career as a professional netballer, playing for the Auckland Diamonds, Southern Steel, Northern Mystics and the Central Pulse, as well as the Silver Ferns, who are our national team. Paula then pivoted to mixed martial arts, as you do, before falling in love with the trails, and this is a fascinating conversation, and we can't wait for you to hear it. But first, this.
It's the greatest run ever!
It's the greatest run ever!
Greatest Run Ever, which is the part of the show where we ask you to write in and tell us your greatest run ever. It doesn't have to be a race or a mountain summit, might just be a run around the block, something that sung to you for some reason. Send them in to us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. Now, this is from Kate Jackson. My greatest run ever starts 8 days before running through the start chute. It was remarkably hot. The Gary Weird slabs of rock radiated a tale of the heat that had been and the heat that promised to continue before the rain set in. I willed my body over the finish line in 30-something degree heat, declaring the GPT 50 the hardest 50k I had ever done. Once the heat stresses subsided, I knew I had one cycle to repeat for the next 8 days: water, food, and sleep. I was, as it turns out, about to run my greatest/worstest run ever. I felt good lining up at the start line of the Ultra Trail Kosciuszko 100. Having just run through Gary Word, one of the most beautiful landscapes I'd ever seen, I was overwhelmed with gratitude for all the beauty I was about to see at Kosciuszko and for all the beauty trail running had given and shown me. Nature was beautiful but wild. For every perfect run, there's surely another one around the corner to remind us how wild it can be. It was cool, then warm, then cold, then sunny, then cloudy. I went out too hard. The 50k 8 days prior catching up with me. I told my husband this at the first aid station, who promptly apologised for forgetting my tried and tested liquid fuel. I filled up my flasks with the aid station fuel and anxiously trotted off, thankful that I could now take things at my own pace without the rushing stomps of eager keen beans behind me. Here began my traverse into the pain cave. My stomach was cramping in protest to a fuel that I did not normally use. I struggled, oscillating between walking and running. At least the cheese graters would not claim me as another victim. After summiting Kosciuszko, this beautiful wilderness decided to remind us why alpine regions are infamous. They stopped the race, someone said. We waited and waited. I called my husband and said through blubbering tears, I'm not sure I can do this. Yes, you can, he encouraged. Just get to the next aid station and you can have some hot noodles. Parentheses, hot noodles fix everything. Close parentheses. 2 hours later, I set off, allowed to continue, but not sure I wanted to. I ran until I couldn't and walked until I felt like I could run again. The rain battered down with infinite vigour, making the trail relentlessly slow as we trudged through mud, almost unable to remain upright. My stomach cramps subsided as I headed into the night, and for the first time all day, I could feel some form of normality returning. I started overtaking runners, feeling renewed as my stomach calmed. During every 100k I have ever done, 3 so far, I've experienced a sudden realization at what I'm doing, where I am, and how special and crazy it is. Ascending Dead Horse Gap in the early hours of the morning, the rain still unfailing, I thought to myself, I'm experiencing something in a time and place that hardly anyone gets to experience. I was in awe, in my mind amusing itself. Then I'd see someone's high-vis vest ahead, the only reminder that I was, in fact, still in a race with other humans. As I turned my headlamp off, descending from the eagle's nest to the finish line, I knew this was the greatest run ever. It tested me in every way, and despite it all, I'll be back again and again, as long as my legs continue to carry me. Wow, thanks, Kate. That was amazing. And I was working at that event and I saw how tough it was and how special it was. So, yeah, maximum respect. And to the rest of you, please send in your greatest runs ever to dirtchurchradio@gmail.com and you can read them unabridged on the website too.
Dirt Church Radio.
Right, let's get into our conversation with Paula Griffin.
I am giving a very big Dirt Church Radio welcome to Paula Griffin. Now, Paula comes from an elite netball background, being a silver fern. Then she went to MMA, which just blows my mind, and now onto trail running. So she's newer to trail running and finding her way with this. Paula, welcome.
Oh, kia ora, Ellie, and thank you so much for a lovely introduction. I feel very humbled to be on Dirt Church Radio. I'm a big fan of it, so thank you for having me.
Pleasure. I don't even know where to start this chat. So, I mean, first of all, so coming from a silver fern background, what was that like being an elite level netballer?
Well, I started playing netball when I was 6 years old. So I've been playing sport my whole life. I was very fortunate that my parents put me in every single sport that I wanted to do, that I was curious about when I was younger. And then netball had a really good pathway growing up to the elite level. So I played club netball, school netball, went through to reps. And then when I was 18 years old, I actually stumbled upon an opportunity where everyone in the Silver Ferns was either pregnant or injured. And I had gone through the right pathway. Being 18 years old, I was in the New Zealand under-21s team as the captain, and they didn't really have anyone else at the time to step up to the Silver Ferns, so they took a punt on 18-year-old me. And so I was very lucky to step into elite sport at a young age, and it was a very big awakening for me because in terms of training history, I had not had that yet. And there was amazing women like Irene Van Dyke, Temepara George, all these legends around me. I just remember feeling overwhelmed, but what a great opportunity to learn off these amazing women. So yeah, sport has really shaped who I am today, and it's been a huge part of my life that I'm really grateful for. And there's just so many lessons in sport to dive into about learning about yourself and growing as a person physically and mentally. So it's yeah, a very, very big privilege to be an elite athlete.
How did that elite career wrap up? Like, I don't know. So I'm keen to hear kind of what. So you've finished with the Silver Ferns. What was the story there?
I was in the Silver Ferns for 5 years, and they always say it's hard to get to the top, and it is, but it's actually harder to stay there because you have a lot of up and coming athletes trying to chase your tail. And as you get older, you do get better, but then also, it depends what kind of situation the team's in. Do you have a big pool of people? And so I was in there for 5 years, and then I got dropped. And you learn the biggest things from getting dropped. But then I continued to play the ANZ Championship, which is the domestic level of netball. And I didn't really retire. I actually decided to take a gap year to travel and find some balance with my friends, because sport is a commitment, right? Like, I kind of didn't have a life outside of that, because you travel, you train with your team, and that's just your life. And that was my life for 12 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting close to 30, and I want to travel with my friends and do some things. And took that gap year, and then COVID happened. So yeah, COVID happened, and then I had a baby. So I almost kind of didn't retire. I wasn't sure how I'd feel after taking a break. And I think it's really important to take those breaks when you're training so hard. And then I was going to reassess, and now my life is with children. And so, yeah, I had to really reassess. I don't think I can go back to netball. It's too much of a commitment for me. And I am getting older, but I still think I have a lot to give in sport, and sport will always be a big part of my life.
So when did you get into MMA then? What was that like? Because that's a really like different next step. So I'm curious how that happened.
Yeah, so it is linked. So it came through netball.
Yeah.
In the off season of netball, we're always given challenges to do things outside, so we don't burn ourselves out doing the same type of training.
Yeah.
And so I remember running wasn't one of them, but the challenge was either to do like a 100K bike ride, to do a charity boxing match, and
Okay.
the other one might have been a swimming one. And I just thought, horrible, all of them horrible. And I was like, what is the quickest one that I can just get this over with for preseason, just take a box? And I thought, oh, boxing might be cool.
Okay.
And they said it was just for fun. You're just going to go train boxing. But actually, they had signed us up before we knew it to fight for young children for a charity. And so
Oh.
you definitely couldn't back out of it. And so I was like, oh God, this is like a real thing. And so we went into a 6-month training camp, me and 3 of the girls. And the other guys who did the other challenges that had it way easier. And so we went into like a real brutal training camp. And I just laughed because I thought, you know what? Netball's hard, but boxing is way harder. And I think MMA has probably been the hardest sport I've ever done in terms of learning about myself, and especially the mental resilience side, coming from a team sport to an individual sport where literally someone could beat you up and get punched in the face and get knocked out. That kind of serious. Like, that's a whole next level of backing yourself and doing the training and leaving no stone unturned and facing your fears and having the courage and needing to train harder than the fight so that the fight feels easier. And it's really about intuition and like trusting your instincts in the moment, because you cannot plan a fight. You can't plan what's going to happen to you. You have to react and respond in a calm manner and feel in control, and all this other stuff you don't have to think about in netball. So it was a rude awakening, to say the least. But yeah, it did stem from netball, and from there I actually continued it on because it did help with my netball training in terms of footwork and mentality and lots of other things. So I continued it on for a few years because I really did enjoy it.
So how far into your netball career was that then when you got into that boxing
Yeah, at the very
action?
at the very end, at the very end.
Okay.
So the last couple of years I did it. It
Yeah.
was hard to keep them both up because netball
Mm.
was my job. We get paid to do that. And yeah, MMA was on the side. So I ended up going from boxing to being roped in to do an actual MMA fight, which is different, in a cage setting where it's 5 minute rounds. And that's just, punching, kicking, Muay Thai, wrestling on the ground, kind of next level fighting. And I've always been a curious child. And I really pride myself that my curiosity is stronger than my fears because I
Mhm.
want to know how I handle pressure. I know I'm not going to die. That's what I always say to myself when something scares me. I know that I'm more curious than letting my fears stop me. And I knew that getting punched in the face is scary, but I knew I wasn't going to die. And how I want to know how I handle pressure situations. And I don't know that if I don't do it. And this is in controlled environments, right? This is not a street
Mm.
fight. This is not. This is all under great coaching support and people who help you to train, just like running. And so I actually highly recommend that everyone do a fight in their life because it's honestly you'll learn the most about yourself ever, hands down.
That's so fascinating because to me, like you strike me as this really like warm, loving, caring, strong woman. But to have that fight side, it doesn't seem like you to me. But that I'm obviously still early days into knowing Paula. But like, how do you rationalize that? Because is that am I right in saying that, or what's your take on that
Yeah,
side of things?
I think that's most people take of me. Like I'm quite reserved and I'm quite a private person. I keep to myself. My grandfather was a boxer, so I'd
Mhm.
definitely seen things within my family history of that. One thing that actually relates to running actually is I always wanted to know that I could protect myself in a dangerous situation. Like if I'm out running or if I'm out with my kids, do I actually know if someone tried to attack me that I knew what to do? So a huge part of that curiosity came from empowerment. That if a man came up to me or a woman came up to me and tried to step me out, obviously the thing to do is to not engage in violence. But if you got caught into a situation where that was not the option,
Mhm.
can I be smart enough to know what to do? So, yes, I'm not an aggressive person at all to answer your question, but I really wanted to know that I could protect myself if I ever needed to, or have the skills and knowledge to get away. And so that's mainly where it stemmed from.
Mm. Mama Bear Paula.
Especially now I have kids. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way anyone's coming after my kids. They're going to have to deal with me and my partner, and we're going to be on top of it. Like, I've had another job where we had to do a self defense course, which
Uh-huh.
I also highly recommend as well, because there's
Yeah.
so many little things. You don't have to be physically strong. You have to just be smart. There's
Mhm.
little things you can do to get away from people to save your life.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I'd done a self-defense course as well. I'm like, this is epic. Everyone should do this. People unfortunately get beat up and things in New Zealand, unfortunately, the odd time. And just having the skills and knowledge is power, right, in life with
Yeah.
anything. So, yes, it's a very good thing to do.
So then MMA, and then what led to trail running? Because they're quite different, You're caged to completely
Yeah.
out of nature.
Yeah. So after I had children and playing sport my whole life, something was missing. Like
Mm.
I missed having something for me. I missed competition. I missed connection with people. I missed having goals. And it did start back in 2021. We'd moved to Coatesville near Riverhead. So Riverhead became our backyard. And then Boyd, my partner, actually signed up for the Riverhead Rampage race for the first time. And he's really good friends with Ant Kerr Taylor. So he was living down the road from us. And so they had signed up to do that. And we just had our daughter Willow. And so they signed up to that. And I went and watched them. And I thought, these guys are crazy. Like this backyard format of just pushing yourself. And back then we laugh now because we don't know what we know now about nutrition and gear and all that kind of thing. It's just watching them run loops around and around, just pushing
Mhm.
their bodies to the limit. And so that was my first taste at looking at ultra running. I was not at all interested in doing it at that stage. It was only until last year at the Muriwai Marathon, where I worked for the Muriwai Environmental Trust who runs it. we have a project team that organizes it. And I just sort of felt like, oh, I should probably do this because, I overlooked this project to try and bring Kiwi back into West Auckland. And it's for a really good cause. So I think I'll sign up for it. So I've always watched my partner Boyd do it over the last 4 years and just felt like I should just support him because it's such a big commitment to run and train.
Yeah.
And it was kind of his thing. I kind of felt like, oh, I don't want to jump on his thing and take up all his time because I'd train and, we have kids and it's quite a juggle. But he was pumped. As soon as I said, oh, do you think I should sign up for the Mirror Marathon? Because, I work here and I should probably support it and be an ambassador and just really get into it. He was so pumped. And that really helped me step into it. It's like, this is the best thing ever. I want you to experience it. It's so much fun. And he was so supportive of it. And then we watched, he showed me the UTMB in Chamonix in 2024. And I was like, wow, this is a real thing. And I didn't know it was a real thing for women, like ultra elite runners.
Yeah.
And I'm very competitive. I like challenges. And again, that curiosity got me. I was like, like, how do you get there? And what do you do to do that? And so it just opened up a whole new world for me. And then the real turning point was when I watched the finisher with Jasmine Paris.
Oh,
As soon
okay.
as I watched that was it. I was like hooked. I was watching YouTube clip after YouTube clip on all the ultra women, what
Yeah.
they do, how they do it, who's been succeeding and learning from the failures. And I just, went on. I'm still very new to the journey, like almost a year in, but it's like this whole new sporting world is open to me. And like, I'm just so excited to learn more about it and learn from people and meet new people and do events and test myself and see where I'm at. And so it's been a bit of a journey, a bit of a scattered one, but I've been watching it for the last 4 to 5 years and really only decided to show up last year and give it a real good crack.
Well, I mean, you spoke about that kind of curiosity earlier, and it sounds like it finally kind of piqued the curiosity in you. Thinking about, like, you've come from a really strong female sport in netball to coming into trail running. What do you notice about women in trail running versus netball?
Mm. I think the first thing that comes to mind is that netball is the number one women's sport and it's very well supported.
Mm-hmm.
So at that level, we are just so lucky to have a whole team to support us to succeed. So, you have your physios, your trainers, the mental skills, the nutritionist, massage people. You have life advisors. Like if you get injured, what are you going to do? You can't make sport your whole life. So you just have this whole team of support wrapped around you. I have started to notice that people were saying not many women were ultra running. And now it's becoming quite big, which is awesome to see. But I think just supporting women more to understand what is required to be an elite athlete or an ultra runner or even just your everyday runner. Because like we talk about, women have so many other challenges to men. We birth children, we have periods, all these things that some of us, or a lot of us actually, myself included, don't understand our own body and how our body operates in certain situations. Like my period, I still don't understand that when I'm running. And it's a huge gap for me to know what I should be doing and how I should be supporting myself in the best way to be a better runner if I have my period on the day or leading up to that. So women just have all these barriers than men. Not that we have anything against men, but women just have a lot more challenges to go through, and so there's so much learning for women in that space.
Yeah, and I think it can be quite daunting for new runners when they're trying to work this all out. Because, I mean, we're out in the bush, we're,
Mm.
far from normal toilets. So it's quite different for people getting into it. It can be quite daunting. Um, how have you found kind of support getting into trail running?
I've actually been quite lucky because there seems to be quite a lot of run clubs out there these days for
Mm-hmm.
women. And I initially didn't know what to do. Boyd was running and he had his friends and groups. And it is intimidating as a woman when there's so many things to learn as a newbie. You don't want to go to a run group because, they're too fast or I might slow them down or ask too many questions. But there's a few supportive run groups in Auckland that I had joined. And like you say, like you learn so much just from going to them and talking to women. So I stepped into a space where I was eager to learn, and the women's support in trail running, or just the trail running community in general, men and women, amazing. The sport, I can't say highly enough of the community support for this sport. But yeah, going to women's ones especially has been helpful in dealing with all the other barriers that women have. So my introduction to trail running for women has been really well supported.
It's good to hear, because I think we are, making progress as a sport. And you're right about the community. Like at Tarawera, my mum came and hung out at the finish line, and she was like, everybody there was just so wonderful. They were just such lovely people. And I was like, I know, that's the trail running community. It's full of great humans. So, but
It's so
it's
good.
nice. Yeah.
I've been signing up to events, and I just signed up to one in Australia and had people reaching out to me that I don't know. It's like, just follow me
Aw.
on social media, and they're like, hey, if you want to stay with us, you can. If you want a car, like come. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Like they don't even know me from a bar of soap, like, but that's the trail running community. And that's what they say. They say like, oh, the trail community is awesome. Like, I'm like, if you ever come to New Zealand, just give me a call. Like, I
Yeah.
just love that there's a trust, and trail running people are good
Mm.
people.
Yeah, definitely. Off mic, we were talking, so we kind of just been talking about women in sport and periods and stuff like that. Off mic, we were talking about um, playing elite netball and kind of the impact that it had on your cycle. What were the learnings from that, or what was your experience and learnings from that?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. You are in charge of your own body, and it's your job to make an informed decision about what you do. And I'm really happy to share my journey. Like, we were given the option to take the pill in elite sport, so you didn't get your period. And at the time, I think almost most women will relate. It's like, yes, I don't get my period. That's great. I can just train right through. But it really mucked up my hormonal system. And I did it for so many years that when I went off it, I was told I couldn't have children. And it was actually the worst thing I could do for my body. And so just learning that the natural cycle is the best thing to do. It took me so many years. I was advised different things, and I was given all the options. I just want to definitely reiterate that. But I picked that one with just being so young and being like, that's the best thing for me. I don't have to have my period. I don't have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm trying to say about that is just really trying to advocate for learning about women's health and your body, and trying to get all the information for you, what's best for you, before doing anything that disrupts your natural cycle. Because it took me so many years for mine to come back. And they said, you push your body too hard, you can't have children, you're not fertile. And then, yeah, I told my partner that, and next minute we had a child. So the best thing that ever happened to us. But, I got told by 3 doctors,
Wow.
you cannot have children, because I didn't
Mhm.
believe it. I went to one doctor and the second doctor and the third doctor, and they said, you're not ovulating, you have PCOS, you won't have children, you've pushed your body way too hard in sport. And obviously, I rejected that, because I'm like,
Mm.
sport's good for your body, it's in controlled environments. And I was really disappointed to hear that. And I know a lot of other women I played with struggled with fertility. And I knew there was some sort of link, but the body can always heal itself. And I knew that. And so I worked very hard. I had gone to women's workshops and worked on stress release, relaxing, trying to get my cycle back to normal, and learning, women used to have their cycles on the same day all the time on the full moon. Like, I was like, what? Like, you can really go down that rabbit hole if you want to. You don't have to. But just, yeah, how much women don't really understand the depths of how amazing their body is, and how important it is to listen to it. And does it feel right for you when you ask yourself, should I do this? And how am I feeling? Like, women are so intuitive, and yeah, just always trust that, and trust that you know your body the best.
Thinking about body and body image, like netball is such a highly televised, publicized, media facing sport, and probably highly critiqued as well, which is tough, right? Like, we know when we're pushing our bodies, it's not always glamorous. Things might fall out. I don't know. but,
Yeah.
but, like, how was it experiencing that side of sport, and how do you see that applying to trail running as well?
Yeah, as a young athlete especially, it's quite confronting. There's
Mm.
a lot of pressure, like in netball when I was a young girl, we did get things called like fat tests, where
Yeah.
you would test your skin folds and
Mhm.
see how much fat you were carrying, because the belief was that the
Mm.
skinnier and more toned you are, the faster, the fitter, the higher you can jump, all those kind of things. So there was an element of expectation for each individual. Um, and yeah, that just thinking about that now, I know there's a few of the girls that have come out and said how detrimental that was to the way that we think and we train it, that we need to be a perfect shape, and we actually didn't.
Mm.
I look back now and I said, oh, I wish I could tell my younger self like that was not the
Mm.
case at all. So when I think about trail running, I think about the longevity of how long I want to play sport or run or anything physical,
Mhm.
and it's not about shape, it's about your joints and how well you eat and mobility and all the things to make sure that your body moves in the way that it's meant to. And so anything that I do now, my approach is like longevity. How can I look
Mm.
after myself? Doesn't matter how I look, what shape I am. And for trail running, you obviously eat a lot of things that you don't usually eat in day to day life to fuel for a race. That was really different for me. Like
Mhm.
having Coke in races and all these things that I just never eat when I was an athlete. Yeah, so just really normalizing that there's no body shape or type. It's what you feel good in your own skin, no matter what you're eating. If you're eating something that feels good for you, and yeah, I just want to keep pushing that message for women, because there is no body shape. It's and young kids growing up, I don't want my kids to think that you should be skinny and super
Mm.
muscly. And if you want to be, that's great. Like,
Mm.
yeah, each to their own, but there's
Mm.
no perfect one size for women. Women give birth, there's lots of different shapes and sizes. And as you age, you change as well.
Mhm.
The older you get and you have kids, your body changes. It doesn't go back to like super skinny, and like it doesn't operate like that. You just need
Mm.
to feel good within yourself.
Was there a catalyst for kind of but having, I guess it sounds like more of a holistic, considered approach. Was there a catalyst for you? I don't know, or was that always there, but it was just kind of enforced upon you? Or I'm yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I definitely think it's changed now for
Mhm.
women in sport now. Before it
Mm.
used to be quite set in its ways.
Mm.
And just talking to other girls in elite sports, it's definitely changed about the way, like they don't do skin folds and stuff anymore, but there
Yeah.
was a certain standard, but we learn as we grow. And I'm glad that some of the elite performances have changed and moved away from those kind of structures,
Mm.
because it is unhealthy. And now, mental health has become a real thing, and more people are more aware of it in the last, what, 5 to 10 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so they've sort of pivoted, which I'm so glad they have, to sort of take the narrative away from being a certain type and having standards that are just unachievable, because everyone is uniquely themselves and no one thing fits everybody. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction for women and men. I think it's really good. And as well as overtraining. Overtraining used to be a real thing. We used to train 3 times a day, and that
Mhm.
was normal. And
Mhm.
pushing our bodies to the limit was a good thing.
Mm.
Um, that was still in a controlled environment. But again, if you're 18 and you're training 3 times a day versus someone who is 30 who has that training history behind them, there's a huge difference in recovery and injury rate for someone who's 18 and doesn't have that training history versus someone who is 30.
Mhm.
So that whole rule of one type of structure does not fit everybody. You have to cater to the individual in anything that you do. And that's
Mm.
really important for people wherever you are in your running journey.
Mhm.
Factor your age, factor your training history, all those things will impact how you do going forwards.
Yeah, I often talk about running age with people. Like if I would treat a 1-year-old different to I'd treat an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old. So it definitely applies. And but it's hard when we look to, what other people are doing, or you're kind of going, well, I'm watching this on YouTube and they do that, or I can see this on Strava, but it's remembering to apply that lens to it of your life and experience, right?
hmm And if you're super into journaling, like I love journaling, that's a really good way to journal your timeline. Like when you
Hmm.
started, what kind of events you do. Because my confidence when it comes to events is my confidence comes from training. And so what have I done? How much have I done? How much time on feet? My strength work? Is it getting better? All those things help build your confidence up in terms of your training history. Because I've seen amazing older women out there in their 60s. And I know they've been running for a long time. So there's no way they're running this fast. They've not run for a long time. And I just admire them so much. They would have done the strength training because the further you go, the stronger you need to be to last that long. And so it's so inspiring to see older women, older men out there doing trail running. So that's really inspiring for me as someone fairly, fairly new in this space.
Mm. I'm curious to go into mindset a bit more because you're a really big proponent of mindset and kind of finding out what you're capable of and self-belief. Like and it's cool, right? Like often, I guess maybe this is my lens, but confident women aren't always, well received. And
Mhm.
so yeah, talk to me about your mindset and your confidence and how you've developed that.
Yeah. Again, I'm really lucky that I was in sport really young because you
Mm.
do have that support network roped around you. So since I was 17, in elite sport, you have mental skills coach who talks you through your training, where you have goals during training, in games. Are you feeling pressure? Or if you felt like you had a really bad game, like talking about honoring those feelings, like, yeah, I missed a goal and we lost the game, like working through feelings, like not pushing them down and not being like, oh, we'll just go on to the next game, like literally feeling all the feels and working through it. Or if you're down by one and you need to get this goal and it's all on you, like those kind of pressure situations. I've been really lucky to have a mental skills coach since I was 17. So this is like years of training. And I always
Mm.
say to people, like, mental skills or mental resilience is a lifelong practice. And I think sometimes it can get overlooked. Not that people don't think it's important, but it's just as important as doing physical training. It should be intertwined into it, doing it alongside it all the time. So when I go running, I always have a goal and intention, even if I'm just going for a 1 hour easy run. I'm thinking about what do I want to get out of this run? Am I thinking about technique? Am I practicing nutrition? Am I focusing on running downhill? So I'm constantly thinking about how I can be better with my mind. And so I love affirmations. That's a really big thing for me. A couple of my go-to ones is I'm always telling myself I'm a problem solver. So like
Mhm.
I'm always trying to fix my problems instead of being a victim.
Mhm.
Victim mentality is like a really hard thing to get out of. Like, oh, I'm injured, I'm sore, I didn't train enough. And
Mhm.
but again, those things take time to train and having your toolbox of things that work for you. Um, and so, yeah, I just really encourage people to really work on the mindset. But it took me years and lots of failures, lots of pressure situations to, again, know how I handle it. And everyone's always going to have negative thoughts. We're all
Mm.
human, and that's normal. But it's just retraining the brain to keep it positive, but keep it honest, and finding the things that really work for you. Because again, no one thing is going to work for everybody. But just practice, practice, practice. And so trail running has been interesting to me because it's been a little bit of shift in mindset because I know my running history, I haven't had lots of time on feet. And so working through that and what am I telling myself when I'm running out there? And I'm usually telling myself that I have untapped potential. That's what I'm usually telling myself because that whole self-belief thing is a real thing. And I think that everyone, if you can just really get on board that you can always do more than you think you can, that's a really good starting point. So if things get tough for me in the run, I'm like, I know I have untapped potential. Go there, go there and find out. And so, yeah, self belief is huge. And that really is ownership on you. You can't have anyone else trying to push you along at the end of the day. You can have people that support you with it,
Mm.
but especially with trail running, you're out there on your own. So yeah, it has to come from you. And in pressure situations in netball with me too, I'm the one with the ball who has to shoot the goal. It's on me. So like I have to figure out ways and have tools to get through it. And yeah, the more you fail, the more you learn. So we all want to succeed, but the more you fail and get comfortable with failing, the more you are going to succeed.
So what failures have you learned from then? What are some kind of, like, I'm keen to hear, like, what have been the big learnings or how have they helped you?
Yeah, I think when I got dropped from the Silver Ferns,
Mm-hmm.
that was a really big learning
Yeah.
because I was still quite young
Mm-hmm.
and there was more competition coming through and I had a really bad season.
Okay.
And I think the pressure was getting to me as a young athlete. I still had amazing older athletes in front of me. And I was slowly working my way up and getting my opportunities, but I just had a really bad year.
In what
And
way?
my shooting was off. We
Yeah.
were playing in Australia. We were doing lots of traveling. A few defenders started to get under my skin, and I didn't
Okay.
know how to
Competition
handle it.
wise?
Yeah, people playing against me,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
people
yeah.
playing against me. They put me in situations I'd never been in before, and I was started to shoot bad, and they were getting in my head,
Okay.
and I didn't know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And like people were telling me what to do, the support was there, but the only way I could get out of it was myself. I
Mm.
had to put more time into training, but I had to put more time into my mental skills training around how am I going to handle this person the next time they
Mm.
confront me on the court, because they were one upping me every time. They'd figured out how I was playing, they figured out what I didn't like. They'd obviously done their homework.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this whole mental battle of like, how am I going to show up
Mm.
and be better on that day for my team? Because it then became me versus her, not the team thing. The team was doing the job, they were bringing the ball
Mm.
down to me. It's my job to get the goal in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had support with my mental skills, but I really had to work. I was challenged because I knew that people knew I was shooting bad. So I had to go out there and play them constantly and change what I was doing, change my habits about my self belief,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm at this level because I am a good athlete. I can shoot, but it's how do I handle pressure? And I
Mm.
think that's the thing for most people. It's how do you handle pressure? And I think that's kind of what shaped how I am today, is like running at fear, running at pressure, knowing how I handle it and what are the strategies for me to be better. Because if you hide away from that, you can stay in your little comfortable space.
Mm.
And I think I've said it to you before, Ellie, like one of the best tips I ever got was you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You have
Mm.
to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a lot of a
Mm.
mouthful. But the more you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, the more you are going to learn about yourself.
That's where the growth is. And where, like, so, what strategies did you employ? So you've talked about affirmations, but how did you kind of work your way through that tough patch?
Yeah, I'm a really big advocate for visualization as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
So I would have a toolbox of like affirmations or things that I would tell myself. I
Mm-hmm.
journaled. So I
Mm-hmm.
keep journaling how I was feeling, why I was feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
What did I believe to be true? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
really important about what you believe to be true. Like you can't be like, I'm a bad athlete because I can't shoot. That's not true. I know
Mm.
that's not true. I am a
Mm.
good shooter. I had a bad game. So it's like identifying what is the truth
Mm.
and then your strategies to try next time. But visualization was a huge thing for me before games and the week leading into the games.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to start visualizing my energy, how I wanted to show up, how I wanted to walk into the stadium, how I was going to warm up, and how that was going to impact my game. I needed to visualize getting goals in. And if I wasn't getting them in, getting the rebound. So even with running, my trail runs, I think about the week leading into it, how I want the run to go, how I'm going to feel when I finish. So and that was a huge part of learning for me from MMA was visualization. We would lie on the floor the week of the fight. You
Mm-hmm.
visualize yourself and your opponent, how you want to be, how your energy, what you're projecting. Is it confidence? Is it calmness, or is it you want to scare them? Do you want to go and be like really scary and bring this energy where you're like intimidating? Like you're deciding what you want to be, right? But like if you can actually visualize it before you go out there, the work's already half done. And that took
Mm.
me a little while to understand. Visualization is so powerful. Half of the work is done if you can actually see it already. If you can see yourself finishing trail running, if you can see yourself getting to the next aid station and how you're going to do it, you've already thought about how you're going to get there or how you're going to do it, the steps. it's not as much of a shock. There's not as much pressure because you've already thought about it, and now your body's just going to do it for you. So visualization is probably one of my biggest things.
And I agree. I think it's a really important one. Like often people will tell themselves a narrative before their race, like, oh, I'm going to feel so stuffed here, I'm going to be tired, or, like that's unhelpful thinking.
Mm.
So it is really good to kind of walk or run through, your race day or your course or where you're going to be and when and what you might be feeling and thinking and setting yourself up for success, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the one. And I think all the preparation, the race is meant to be the fun thing. Like
Mm.
all the preparation is done before you get to the start line. So when you get out there, that's what I think about. I've done all the work. I get you're winning if you get into the start line, right? So yeah, so just that thing of it does take a long time to work up your mental resilience and just keep practicing it, keep talking to people about it. It's that same thing of awareness and normalizing talking about resilience and how do you do it, and ask your friends if you think they're really good with it. Ask their tips because everyone has different tips that might
Mm.
land for you, and
Yeah.
that's a really good thing to do as well.
Thinking about, like we've spoken about failure, about having a tough season, about getting dropped, like
Mhm.
what advice would you have for people that are going through that feeling of like the horrible feeling of failure, of, not achieving what you want to achieve, or that probably that, like negative self-belief, or what all the things that would dredge up. I can imagine it must be even more awful when it's your career. Like, at least like,
Yeah,
this is not underselling it, but like at least if you DNF for
yeah.
races and you're not a professional athlete, it's not your job. It's not your life for the past like decade or whatever. So talk to me about that because that would have been huge.
Yeah, it's real confronting because, like, the media the next day will write that you had an
Oh,
awful, awful, awful game, and they might single you out, which often they did for shooters. And you
oh.
you think the funny thing is you think everyone's reading it and everyone watches, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like,
I don't think I've ever read an article, Paula.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, yeah, good. No, you shouldn't read articles in media and stuff like that. No one cares, and I think that's a good reminder for anything in life. No one cares. Like if you
Yeah.
DNF, it is heartbreaking and you learn lots from it, but people support you. They don't care. They don't care that you failed. Failing is a good thing. But back to your question, my method that I do, or my advice, sorry, to people that have failed, you should embrace failure because it's the best thing that can happen to you because this is where you pivot, this is where you learn, and this is where you go in a different direction and take those learnings and be better. But I actually find journaling super helpful because sometimes you can't always offload your feelings onto friends and family. It's a lot of energy to be like, oh, I failed and oh, I did this. And I always come back to, again, this is my sort of default mindset now. It is a privilege to run and to train. There's people out there that can't. And so that's what I kind of come back to if I need to humble myself. Like if I've failed and I'm disappointed, it's okay to fail and be disappointed.
Mm,
But I get to do this.
mm,
I get to do this. And so I write down things about my honest feelings. And sometimes it doesn't look great. I feel like a failure and I will say, I feel useless and whatever. But it's good to get all those feelings out, write them down. Because if you can't acknowledge why you're feeling that way, it's really hard to move forwards about what the solution is.
mm,
And so it's almost like in 3 parts, you sort of identify what are you actually feeling, what is actually true, and then what am I going to do going forwards. So that's
mm.
kind of my structure. So
Cool.
acknowledge the feelings, your actual feelings, don't
Mm,
don't shy away from the real ones. And then what is actually true about what I'm saying and what's not true. And then the
mhm,
third one is, yeah, what are my tools? How am I going to move forwards? What are my strategies that I can do? Can my support people help me? Can my coach, can my friends, can my family help me? And I find that like a real easy way to break down in a 3-stage um, journaling system. Because then sometimes the things you write, you don't even know you're going to write. Like
yeah.
I didn't know I felt like that about, I
Mm,
thought I had an injury, but I didn't have injury, but did I wear the wrong shoes? Like all these things that came up when you reflect, you can really go deep if you want. But it's just getting them all out there because you're actually what you're doing is you're clearing space in your mind to think how to go forwards. If you're still carrying all that stuff in your mind about failing and I'm so disappointed and I should have done this for training or I should have done that, you don't really have the space to think clearly about going forwards. So it's really
Mm.
important, like you dump that and get that out of your brain first so you have the space to think clearer thoughts and then go for a run. That also clears your thoughts.
True. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like you're kind of getting rid of the unhelpful, letting it
Yeah.
be, recognizing it, but then moving it into a helpful space to help you learn from that
Yes. And one other
situation.
thing I will say to that though is by journaling, sometimes you can figure out repeated patterns. So if you
Okay.
have something that's constantly coming up for you, like if you're saying something to yourself or you're feeling a certain way,
Mm.
then you can identify, okay, this is an actual thing for me. Like, I really need to change this. This could be a huge shift for my running or whatever sport you're doing, because often you do have patterns. And sometimes it could be negative thinking or it could be other things. But once you can actually have the awareness is the biggest, actual, most important thing that you need to have to be able to make better decisions. Because if you're not aware, there's lots of people in life who are not actually or have the awareness to know what's happening for them. They can't actually solve the problem
What have
unless
been
they're
some of your patterns? Or
for running or for netball.
either?
Um, I'd have to think about that one because I'm actually quite quick to because I have these systems in place for me. I'm quite quick to move on from them.
Mhm.
So because I've been writing them down, I don't often let things become a pattern because I
Yeah,
know
okay.
I don't want it to be. So
Mm.
so nothing actually comes to mind. Um, I think though, like this is not the best example, but sometimes when you're coming back from an injury and
Mm.
you think it's still there, like, you're like, "I'm
Oh,
not sure,"
yeah.
like, and it keeps
Mm.
coming up and you just it's on your mind, like, "Is my injury there? But I've done the rehab and I'm stronger now," and then you keep thinking like, "I think my injury held
Mhm.
me back. That's why I didn't run so well," or, "I could have run faster, but I didn't." And are you making excuses for yourself? Like, that's kind of like a pattern you need to pick. Am I making an excuse of, like, why am I not trusting my training like I'm good now? Like,
Mhm.
this is when you've done, like, a solid say if you've got a real bad injury and you've done solid training, even
Mm.
with little niggles, injuries can really set you back, but you have to have that mindset of, yeah, what is true? Have I done the training? All my testing says that I'm strong, so I have nothing to worry about. And so journaling can pick up things like that. Well, actually, I've said that a few times now that I think I haven't tried to run faster because I think my hip's sore. Or I
Mm.
think I have this phantom injury before my run. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have a good run. Because then you can start to be that victim mentality again and start adding your thoughts together, like, oh no, like, and yeah, so that's kind of the way that I try and pick up my patterns. But the more practice you do this, it doesn't really become a thing anymore. You just nib those patterns out straight away, and it's not an excuse. And you have your tools to be like, right, I know when this happens, I'm saying this, or I'm doing this, or I'm even telling my friend, you call me out and tell me I'm talking shit. So it's all self accountability.
I think, like you're a mum to two girls, right? Two young girls. And I'm curious how you are approaching parenthood with that mindset lens and what you're doing with them to try and set them up for success or confidence and self belief and curiosity about what they can do. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a really special thing having young kids, and they do really change you because when you look at them, you just think of you and you think of the things that you wish you had learnt when you
Hmm.
were younger. And so we are very much into mindfulness. So drawing to clear your mind, especially if they're angry or busy or all the things. So we like coloring in or drawing patterns. I haven't quite got them into journaling yet, but we do sort of say a few affirmations because the world is a scary place when you're a child. But it's
Mm.
actually the adults that worry because they're not oblivious to it. It's
Mm.
like I feel worried for them stepping into a world where it's so anything could happen these days. So all we know as parents that we can do, me and Boyd talk about it a lot, is just to nurture their mind. And if we hear them saying anything negative, just changing the wording for them and being like asking them about their feelings, making sure that they're feeling it. And we're never going to push their feelings down and tell them that's not valid.
Mm.
So we always just, I guess, holding space and creating the space for them to feel how they feel, and then to give them the tools to deal with it. So, but yeah, affirmations is a huge thing in our house, and the ability to communicate is huge.
And it's great that you two are on the same page. How, like, what is, I'm keen to hear about Boyd. Like, he's, because you've got what, three brothers that run there, and
Yeah.
a, s- a s- a strong kind of family connection. And how, yeah, how does he influence you, or you influence him?
Yeah, I think we both do. I mean, it's definitely strengthened our relationship. Anything you do with your partner where you have the same passion, the level of understanding is there of what is required. But I think for us, it's that mental clarity as parents. Because when I first had children, it was a little bit different for Boyd, but Boyd was just as busy as I was. I couldn't do all the things. I wasn't getting my fitness. I wasn't getting outdoors as much. I wasn't connecting with my friends as much. And that's why I thought something was missing, and it was. It was my physical well being and my mental well being to just get in nature, because that's what I love. And so I didn't even think about running. But both Boyd and I agree we're better partners and parents for getting outside and running. Whether you're
Mm.
socially running or wanting to train for events, it doesn't matter if running's not your thing either. If you're just playing netball or playing touch or whatever it is, it's super important to have that mental clarity space when you have children. And I think we didn't identify that early enough. When we had kids, our kids are 3 and 5 now. And I've only just felt in the last year that I've felt like myself again, in terms of having capacity to connect with other people, put time and effort to my own health and well-being in terms of like sport and training for things and having a challenge. And
Mm.
for Boyd, it's just this whole new juggle of life with kids, because men like to just go off and do whatever they want. It's like, oh, the kids are here and we've got to do this first, and the priorities change, and then school drop-offs now, and you're trying to fit training into all of that. But we
Mm.
try and have the mindset of like, well, actually, if we don't put the health and well-being first, then we can't be good parents. So that
Mm.
actually does come first before everything else.
Yeah.
So now we make sure that we prioritize one of us is getting out for a run and the other one's going, whether it's in the morning or at night, so we can be better parents and partners. And we didn't have that structure when we first had kids, because it was all new, it was full on. We didn't know what we were doing, and it was a hard time. It was a really hard time. And I wish that I knew about running sooner. I wish I forced myself to get out more and put that first.
Mm.
Mm.
But it's hard, right? When you've got young
Oh,
kids,
that's
they're
hard.
so in it and they're so demanding, and
Yes.
yeah, it's tricky. But it's great that you've found it now and are able to prioritize it and balance it. And I mean, it looks like you guys are really thriving, which is great to see.
Yeah, and it's nice to support each other. Like we haven't really run a race together yet, but
Mhm.
being aid station crew for each other and knowing what's going on and cheering each other on when they do a new distance or they get a PB, or just getting little bits of growth and being better. And our communication has been better too, so much better. We've just had
Mm.
to work on that heaps through just having kids and doing sport and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been really good for us.
So I'm going to ask you the question now that we ask everybody that comes on Dirt Church Radio. Paula Griffin, what's your greatest run ever?
Well, I haven't done too many runs to date, but my most recent one was the Tarawera 50K.
Hmm.
And I would say that was my best run, not because of the distance, but because one, I finished it, and two, I was just super happy that the conditions were actually really bad, because I had such, I know that sounds funny, but I had such a realization. Like, you train for an event and you try and not put too much pressure on yourself, and as it gets closer you think, oh, should I try harder, should I try a time goal, should I definitely, that happens to me a lot, where I'm like, no, I'm still at where I'm at, I'm still early days. I'm like, oh, maybe I could get 7 hours, or maybe. But anyway, so the weather was that bad that fully distracted me from my goals. And I was like, you know what? This doesn't matter. I really just need to go out there and have fun and finish. And that's exactly what happened to me. Like, the weather was that bad that I just went out there. Started off really slow and then just maintained a comfortable pace the whole way. Finished feeling good, not injured, nutrition went good. So all of those things are just such a big tick for me for the best race ever. And I just had such the best time talking to people. I love running in the rain. And it's just an overall good first experience for my first 50K ultra. And so it's my best run ever.
It sounds like good advice too, because I think often people go, like I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But actually just kind of embracing that new experience that you're about to have and not putting any pressure on it and just being proud of yourself because you were really invested in it, right?
I was. And I think I did see what actually helped me. It was a YouTube clip of an elite saying, like, when you are a beginner, you don't realize when you're in it, but this is a time to enjoy your running because the better you get, the harder it's going to be. Like, if you keep going up and you want to be elite, it's just going to get harder and harder and you're always going to be exhausted. So enjoy this time where you're a beginner. You're running comfortably slow, enjoy nature, enjoy talking to people because you won't be talking to people if you're running fast and trying to win. So I was like, that is really good advice. And so I remembered that when it was raining and I just really enjoyed it like so much. That was like the best experience. And being in New Zealand in Rotorua, very special, beautiful redwood forests.
Well, I'm excited, Paula, to see where you go with this running journey. Obviously, like you're newer to it, but a long history in sport, really great mindset. And I'm curious to see where your curiosity leads you in the future.
Thank you very much. I will just keep following the processes and see where I end up.
Well, it's been an absolute joy having you on, Paula. Thanks for joining us on Dirt Church Radio, and we'll look forward to seeing you out on the trail sometime soon.
Thank you.
Dirt Church Radio is presented by me, Matt Raymond, with Ali Pottinger and Andrew McDowell. We're on all the podcast platforms, so like, follow, and give us a rating. It really helps. We're on social media at Dirt Church Radio. Email us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. Now, don't forget to sign up to our Substack for a weekly newsletter and Aid Station podcast. Don't forget to write in with your greatest run ever. We'd love to hear from you, and you can read them on the website too. Thanks to our supporters, Further Faster, and our Substack subscribers and the DCR Aid Station crew. Stay tuned for our show in 2 weeks when we have another great guest lined up. Mā te wā.